You can't just say that it was 60 minutes of weight training.
Mm-hmm.
What did you do in those 60 minutes?
Yeah.
Exactly what was the intensity? How did you progress over the period of time? I need to have that information. So being much more detailed in the methodology. Now, oftentimes we're faced with space confinements, the length of a paper.
Yeah.
And it would take much too long to do that. But still, make the information available somewhere, somehow, even if it's a link within the paper, and go to here to get the information.
Yeah.
On the protocol. I think that's part of it. Another part is just decreasing the number of journals that are out there, or being able to red flag them, becoming aware of these, as we call them, predatory journals that are out there to try to get money.
Do you think that having the professors being required to put in peer-reviewed articles is part of the problem? Like, do you feel like, because I guess those companies might not be out there if the professors weren't required to, you know what I'm saying? As opposed to maybe offering professors bonuses instead of requirements, if that makes sense.
Well, the field of the academic professor or researcher is really built on publication. Whether it's books or if it's research studies, and it is the one way that we have of showing productivity.
Yeah.
And that's not going to go away. But I think going back to that predatory journal concept, there are lists available of these journals that are the pay-to-play journals. We've gotten to the point where when we review the academic credentials of people that are applying for promotion, we cross-examine their journal publications with such lists. So if they're publishing in these pay-to-play types of journals, then we call into question those publications,
right,
and whether or not they are legitimate.
Yeah.
And that should be the same for those that are consuming the information as well. So if it is yourself as a personal trainer, evaluating which journal you are looking at, and is it really a credible journal where you're getting this information from? And I'd say if it's not a credible journal, then don't even bother reading it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd agree with that. And actually, the journal you recommended to me was a lot better than some of the others I've seen, because sometimes I'll just Google journals, and they'll pop up, and I'll read them. I'm just like, man, this isn't really what I'm llooking for. And sometimes it's hard to find the good journals. So when I took your recommendation, they're a lot better.
A lot of stuff on the internet, a lot of these open access journals that you don't have to pay to subscribe.
Right.
But many of these pay-to-plays are out there as open access journals.
Right.
Because, again, once it's on the internet, most people take it as gospel, and it shouldn't be.
Yeah.
And along your lines of asking, improving the peer review process and so on, part of it's the application of the information.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the writers of these manuscripts should provide the application. How can we actually utilize? How can we apply that information? Yeah, I recently saw this meme, which was a glass of water being poured into another glass. And the glass that's full and being poured is the scientific literature. The empty glass waiting to get that water were the practitioners. And what was happening is the glass was being poured so slowly that all of the water was just going over the lip of the glass and pouring down onto the table. And there was nothing actually going into the cup, the practitioners. And, I think that really summarizes the problem that we have.
Oh, that's great.
We have this information, but we're not delivering it properly to those that can use it.
That's how I feel. As a trainer, that's how I feel. That's why it's so funny to me.
Yeah.
Because that's exactly how I feel. It's exactly accurate. It's right on the money.
We publish the stuff, but we're not going to use it. Mm-hmm. The only reason we're going to use a published paper is to cite it in our next paper.
Right.
We put it out there and just kind of hope that you get it.
Yeah. So ketones. What are your thoughts on this new fad diet of ketones?
I'm not really a big fan of any fad diet.
All right.
Nutrition has worked for millennia.
Mm-hmm.
People have eaten carbohydrates, fats, and proteins. A combination of those appears to lead to health. And, eliminating any one of those can lead to a variety of issues. So I know of the keto diet. Keto diet is popular amongst weight loss aficionados, but there are risks that are involved with that. Eating high-fat diets and taking carbohydrates away. You're relying on ketones, which are an acid. Not a big risk for people that aren't diabetic, but can still lead to health problems. The food that you eat is very rich in fat. You're eliminating carbohydrates in this case. Part of the way that works is if you eliminate carbohydrates, you're eliminating stored carbohydrates in the body, which is stored as glycogen. A gram of glycogen stores 3 grams of water with it. You take out those carbs, you take out the water. So you immediately lose weight. And as long as you keep those carbs out of the body, you keep that weight off the body. You can have, if you're on a keto diet and you have one high carbohydrate meal, you'll weigh yourself the next morning and you'll be up 3 or 4 pounds from the morning before.
So it's a lot of that weight loss partly just from the water.
Yeah, you didn't eat 3 or 4 pounds of food for that meal.
Yeah.
But the amount that you did eat was stored with the water.
Yeah. I didn't know that. I actually didn't know that ketone diet, a lot of that weight loss is from just water weight, the carbohydrates. So that makes sense. So what are some of the risk factors that comes with ketones? Because it sounds like you're not necessarily all the way against doing a high-fat diet. It's more so about who it's for, how exactly you're doing it.
I think it's got its places, but you look at nutrient deficiency. A well-balanced diet will provide you with all the vitamins and the minerals. It's the B complex vitamins, vitamin C, the water-soluble vitamins. High-fat diets may not necessarily do that. So when you're eliminating fruits, a lot of the fruits and a lot of the vegetables. I know that some fruits are allowed in keto diets, but they're also very low in carbohydrates.
Right.
And whether it's the liver problems, because that's where the fat's going to be metabolized, subsequently to kidney problems, constipation's another side effect of keto diets. There's a variety of things. I'm just an advocate of keep the calories low, regardless of where the calories come from. And it's calories in, calories out. Keep the calories low. Burn as many calories as you can through physical activity, and you will lose weight. It is difficult to lose weight just by diet.
Yeah.
You think about a pound of fat is 3,500 calories. So if you want to lose a pound of fat in a week, that's 500 calories per day. Figure out how many calories you're consuming and then try to eliminate 500. And that's just a pound a week.
Yeah.
A lot of people, their goal is 2 pounds a week. So you get 1,000 calories. It's about cutting your caloric intake in half. And, trying to get through cravings and everything else and, say, well, I'll just take a day and I'll just cheat a little bit. Well, that probably loses you 2 or 3 days of gains right there. Just trying to think, all right, what foods are good for me? What foods do I enjoy? If you don't buy it and you don't bring it in the house, it's kind of hard to eat it.
Yeah.
You buy that bag of chips and it's in the house and you're in that vulnerable time when you just got home, you're craving food. Oh, it's a bag of chips. I don't have to prepare that. And it's gone.
That's how it works at my house. If it's in the house, I'm going to eat it. So it just better not make its way in there. Yeah.
You know what I do?
What's that?
When I have cravings, I think about, why do you have cravings? Because you know how it tastes, right?
Yeah.
You know exactly how it tastes and how good it's going to be. But then afterwards, you're ridden with guilt. Like, I shouldn't have done that. All right, so you have this craving. Just think about that food and what it tastes like. And once you've enjoyed that, just step away. And now you've beat the craving.
I thought you were going to say just enter right into the guilt phase.
Nope. And then, well, you have no guilt
just
phase.
skip over it and go right into the guilt phase.
phase at that point. You're fine. So you've skipped the whole thing, and then you go find an apple.
Not ketone, by the way. Apples are not
well,
keto.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that all makes sense.
But if you combine the, I don't like using the word diet because nobody likes the word diet.
Right.
It's like the word exercise. People don't like exercise. If you eat healthy and you're active, you are bound to lose weight. And the more active you are, you can only cut so many calories from your diet. You can go down to 0 calories, but you can't go below that.
Right.
I guess unless you ate a lot of celery, which are negative calories, right? You burn more calories.
Then you start putting peanut butter on the celery, and then
just celery. Maybe there's an argument for that, but you can't really go minus calories.
Right.
You can always add more physical activity. 5 miles, make it 8 miles. It adds up.
Yeah. And how does the body, like on a physiological level, actually like burn and like pull that fat out? Because we all know, like, you burn calories by exercising, but how does that fat like actually leave your body? And also, more than that, like, because you could run 5 miles and burn this many calories, but you could also do like weight training that might only last 30 minutes, and then but there's like that residual process afterward where you're still losing weight because of that energy. Can you kind of go into how that fat loss process works?
Yeah, and you've actually got a couple topics embedded within.
I tend to do that in my questions.
Stuff right there. So I'm gonna tackle this one first in terms of the weight training stuff. Muscle is very good at burning calories, especially when it's active. Fat does not burn calories. It's really metabolically dormant. It just stores energy for you, and muscle burns that energy. So the more muscle you have, potentially the more energy you're going to consume, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
So the weight training part, then you've got the residual rise in metabolic rate following that. So you're still burning calories. And maybe it's only 50 calories or 100 calories that are added on after you're done exercising, above your metabolic rate. But you take 50 or 100 calories a day, 7 days a week, out for a few weeks or a few months, there's another pound of weight that you have gotten rid of.
And is that those calories being used up to repair the muscle basically after it's damaged, or what exactly are those calories going towards?
So what you've got is, during exercise and immediately following exercise, your metabolic rate is elevated.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, you're consuming more oxygen above that. And that's due to hormonal changes. Your sympathetic nervous system elevates heart rate, for example. Body temperature is up. All of that is going to require additional energy. And that's going to come from a combination of carbohydrates, fats, and a little tiny bit of protein that's in there as well. And whether that energy is coming from carbohydrates or fats or a little bit from protein, a calorie is still a calorie. And energy expenditure is going to draw out the same amount of fuel from the body. So there are ways to sort of target more carbohydrate utilization versus fat utilization. Whether it's anaerobic or aerobic types of high intensity versus low intensity types of activity. I still think it comes down to just overall energy expenditure at the end of the day.
I got you. Yeah. And I think there's some people that I've heard on the bro science side of things that would argue like that it's not just about calories in, calories out. What would you say to them?
Show me the data.
Show me the article. Yeah. Yeah. Because that was I don't know if you've seen that on the internet, but that's kind of like a popular thing right now, is it's so much more than calories in, calories out.
Well, if it's on the internet,
and it could be right.
It could be right.
Maybe it just hasn't gotten through the peer-reviewed article.
Show me the scientific literature.
It's on its way to being peer-reviewed right now.
That could be. Yes, it's in press. We'll see. It's coming out. Landmark studies.
Yeah. And then going back to the question attached to that, how does the fat actually like leave the body? So like you burn the calories, it gets used up. Where does it go when it's done?
So where does the fat go? You were asking. Well, we've got a finite number of fat cells. All right, so we're not getting rid of the fat cells. The fat cells are just getting smaller. Right? So that fat that is utilized, the energy stored within that, and then there's going to be byproducts of that fat. Every molecule you have in your body, when it's utilized for energy, is broken down So we have a molecule of carbohydrate